Hey guys, before we get into today's video, first I want to thank our sponsors at NordVPN. Get a huge 75% off by going to nordvpn.com/censoredgaming or check out the link in the description. Why might you want to check it out? Well, NordVPN allows you to surf the web as if you were located in any country, meaning you can bypass things like filters and regional restrictions. It also keeps all of your internet data secure, meaning you're kept safe when browsing, and NordVPN is also one of the few companies that have a strict no data logging policy. It's available for mobile as well as PC, and it's been consistently voted the best VPN service around. So again, you can get a huge 75% off by going to nordvpn.com/censoredgaming or by checking out the link in the description. And even more, get one extra month for free by using the code censoredgaming at checkout. It's just been announced by Bethesda that the upcoming Wolfenstein Youngblood is coming to Germany in 2 versions. One version will have the types of changes to iconography that have been made to previous games, and the other will be completely uncensored and is called the international version. Like displayed in this footage from the previous game Wolfenstein 2, this marks the first time that a Wolfenstein game has been released uncensored in Germany in the series' entire history. And so due to recent events, today we'll be taking a look at 8 ways Hitler has been censored in video games. It's not just German versions of games that have had appearances of the dictator removed, but this can also sometimes be found in other parts of the world too. This is normally a case of developers wanting to release one version of the game and wanting to avoid having to produce a special German-only version, which is most likely what happened with number 8, Contra ReBirth. Unbeknownst to many Western players, this 2009 entry in the legendary Contra series actually had a mirror image of Hitler as the game's main antagonist. In the Japanese version of the game, the leader of the Neo-Salamander force, Chief Salamander, is a splitting image of the German dictator. In the Western versions, however, the portrait depicting Chief Salamander's face was curiously obscured with a strange blurring technique, removing all similarities to his previous appearance. Number 7, Little Ninja Brothers. Whilst no longer existing during the time of Contra ReBirth, the Western side of Nintendo used to have a censorship policy back in the 80s and early 90s that would have forbid the depiction of the dictator, alongside lots of other material that they deemed unsuitable for their family-friendly Western audience. You can see examples of this policy coming into effect with games like Little Ninja Brothers, which had an enemy called Tiger Hitler in the Japanese version of the game, complete with a Hitler-like mustache and symbol on his hat. The overseas versions, however, renamed him to Tiger Tank and removed the mustache and symbol as shown. Number 6, Bionic Commando. Those changes though pale in comparison to the edits that were made by the Western side of Nintendo for Bionic Commando. Even the title of the game was censored, as its original Japanese name is Hitler's Resurrection Top Secret. The game sees the hero, Lad Spencer, fighting against a new Nazi empire, although only in Japan. For the Western versions of the game, the Nazis were rebranded as the Bads, and all Nazi symbols and references were removed from the game. Hitler also makes an appearance in the game as the final boss, and whilst his appearance wasn't altered overseas, his name was, with him being given the name Master D in the West. Number 5, Persona 2 Innocent Sin. Sometimes the dictator can be removed from all versions of the game worldwide though, as was seen in the Persona 2 Innocent Sin remake. Whilst originally released for the PlayStation in 1999, where it was a Japan exclusive, the PSP remake was released worldwide, although with a curious change made to Hitler, who is one of the game's main antagonists. Within the game, you must save the city from the second coming of Hitler and his army of robots called the Last Battalion. In the remake, however, Hitler was renamed to Führer and given pitch black sunglasses to cover his eyes. There's never been any official explanation for this change, but considering the remake was the first time the game was released in English, perhaps it was due to keeping the overseas release in mind. There have been some suggestions from fans that this was due to new rules from the Japanese rating system. However, Hitler has been depicted without any issues in many of the games around this time in Japan, and so this isn't clear. Number 4, Raid World War II. Of course though, when it comes to games censoring Hitler, this is something that has affected German versions of games significantly more than the rest of the world. There are countless examples of depictions of the dictator being changed in the German versions, such as in this portrait from Call of Duty Finest Hour. Going much further back in time, Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade had a similar portrait featured in-game, and for the German versions, the armband was removed like so. A particular interesting case though can be found in 2017's Raid World War II, which used real-life actors for the game's cutscenes, including the famous John Cleese. Being set during the war, Hitler is featured often in scenes, however only for the non-German versions. Over in Germany, all of these scenes had to be redone so that the actor is depicted very differently. The German actor instead has a different uniform, performs different actions such as no longer doing the salute, and has a much longer mustache. Number 3. Hearts of Iron 4. While some games elect to try and change the appearance of the dictator for the German market, a few games like Hearts of Iron 4 have instead tried to conceal his appearance completely. In the German versions of the game, the dictator is presented with dark shadows covering his face, meaning that you can no longer make out who it is. Number 2. Medal of Honor Frontline. And then aside from changing and concealing, another thing that will sometimes be seen for German releases is him being removed completely, and this includes in real life documentary footage. Medal of Honor Frontline is an example of this, which included a lot of real life footage in cutscenes, and for the German versions, any shots of the dictator were replaced with other shots so that he can no longer be seen. Number 1. Uncharted 2. Finally, it's not just the visual depiction that can get changed over in Germany, but also the mention of him by name. Uncharted 2 is a notable example of this, as his name wasn't just removed, but it was in fact replaced by the name of another infamous real life dictator, this being Saddam Hussein. Have a listen.
Are you a student of history, Mr. Drake?
I've read a book or two.
Genghis Khan, Hitler, Stalin, Pol Pot, they were all great men.
Kennst du dich mit Geschichte aus, Drake?
Ist zufällig eins meiner Hobbys.
Genghis Khan, Saddam, Stalin, Pol Pot, das waren alles große Männer.
What do you think about these changes made to the games, and do you know of any others? As always, please let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and a big thanks again to NordVPN for sponsoring today's video. There'll be a link in the description if you want to go check them out, and the limited time 75% discount. And until next time, thank you for watching.